As crazy as this is to say, because it feels weird, it sounds weird to some, it's just there's a strangeness to it because of the history of the program before Mike Elko got there. I think Texas A&M is the best team in the SEC. Do I think it's close? Sure. I like Alabama as well. I think Texas A&M is a more complete football team. But here's the interesting thing. And this is something I've touched on before, and each week seems to give me more and more data points to support this particular take that I've had for a while. The biggest and best example that the SEC is not what it used to be, still a great conference, still probably going to have the most teams in the playoff unless USC wins at Oregon and then Oregon wins at Washington the following week, and they both get in at 10-2, and USC has to beat Iowa first as well. The SEC will probably get the most teams into the playoff. I'm not going to object to that. But Texas A&M is the most accomplished team resume-wise in the SEC. It's why they're number 3 in my top 25. You can check that out at LockedOn_CFB. Do I think they're the best team? Yes. Do I think that they are destined to win it? No. Do I think they're destined to win the national championship? Also no. Because Texas A&M, they beat Missouri over the weekend, who had a backup quarterback. It was one of my best bets, and that one hit because Missouri with a backup quarterback is just not all that threatening. And so for Texas A&M, like most teams, it turns out, for Texas A&M, they are such a boom or bust team. And this goes on both sides of the ball. So their ability to create explosives in the passing game and in the running game is awesome. It's really, really awesome. Because when you watch Texas A&M play, Mario Craver and Casey Concepcion are guys that can make explosive plays down the field, or as Concepcion did on a long touchdown against Missouri, he can take a screen pass and house it 48 yards. They have that type of playmaking speed. Marcel Reed himself has that sort of playmaking speed, running the ball and throwing the ball. And Reuben Owens had some big runs in this game, including a 57-yard touchdown. Texas A&M offensively has some ebbs and flows, but is really playing well on that side of the ball. And Colin Klein's name is just not out there in coaching circles for reasons that don't make a whole lot of sense. Maybe he's not experienced enough yet. Schematically, he's one of the best in the country. Their ability to create explosives and do a lot and be balanced and have answers on offense, I think is really, really good. On the defensive side, they have been up and down. And this is the difference. Texas A&M is the most accomplished team in the SEC, but I do not believe they're just far beyond everybody else in college football. And if Texas A&M plays their best football, no one could touch them. Whereas in the past, it's felt like, the Georgia teams that won back-to-back national championships. When they played at their best, nobody could beat them on the same field. That's not the case for whoever the SEC champion is, because the 3 best teams in the SEC are Texas A&M, Alabama, and Georgia, I believe, in that order. Ole Miss is hanging around kind of in that in-between, and then I think there's a gap before you get to the Oklahomas, Texases, and Vanderbilts of the world. But for Texas A&M defensively, this is one of the strangest things I have ever seen. They have allowed under 100 rushing yards per game 5 times. That's a great number. That's a great number. However, they have on 3 occasions to teams that are not ranked, one of which is an average team in the American in UTSA, they have allowed 200 yards or more. Everything on offense and defense for Texas A&M at times feels like it's boom or bust. And when it booms, man, it's good. Man, it is good. They made defensive plays against Missouri. They had explosive offensive plays. We've seen that throughout the year. They can do a lot, but I don't have a full level of trust in them yet because I don't think that they have played a team that can really line up. And I think Missouri could have been this had Bo Prabula been healthy for this game. Unfortunately, he was not. But I don't think they have played a team. And there might not be one in the SEC that is built to exploit them in that way. Like if Texas A&M played Michigan, that would be more difficult of a game for Texas A&M to win than it should be. A team that is just committed to running the football in the way that they do. Or you look at the way Oregon has run the ball in their last few games, what they did at Iowa over the weekend. I think that would be a tough matchup for Texas A&M's defense. So I don't fully trust them. Then you pivot to Alabama, and I say, well, I think Alabama's a really good team, and I think Texas A&M is a really good team. But there are things with Alabama. How far can Ty Simpson take you? What if Ty Simpson has an off day at all in any way, shape, or form? What if he turns the ball over a couple times? You have to feel like you come back from a 2-possession deficit because of your ability to throw the football. But what if Ty Simpson isn't quite feeling it? Where do you go? What do you do? Alabama's run game, I don't think, is going to undergo a revolution here in the last not quite full month of the regular season. They're just not going to be a great running team. And the run defense at times, like Texas A&M, has been up and down. And so then you go to Georgia, who, oddly enough, I don't trust defensively, who I think is really good. I want to make that clear, that my poking holes in these teams is to point out how open the race is. Right now, I'd probably take Texas A&M to win the SEC. If you played around, obviously Alabama's already played Georgia. Alabama and Texas A&M do not play. They might meet in the SEC championship game. I think Texas A&M is a more balanced football team than Alabama. I think they're the most balanced football team, offense, defense, special teams, in the SEC. I do not believe they are at the same level as past SEC champions. So that's how I look at the SEC right now, is I think that your tier 1 teams are the 3 that I have the highest rated. You have got Texas A&M, you have got Alabama, and you have got Georgia. Those 3, in that order, I think are the tier 1 teams in the SEC. And I'll throw it up for my YouTube audience here. Ole Miss, I have back at number 8 in my rankings. I think Ole Miss is good. And I think they're in a tier of their own. I know they almost beat Georgia, but I still do not quite trust Ole Miss the same way I trust Texas A&M or Alabama or Georgia, who all have cracks, as I mentioned. But I think Ole Miss is on their own tier. And then the next tier is when you can talk about teams like Oklahoma and Texas and Vanderbilt. Speaking of Vanderbilt, I wanted to share thoughts on their game over the weekend. I thought it would be difficult, and it was. And Vanderbilt found a way. And the interesting thing with the Commodores is that they could wind up at 10-2, and in the college football playoff, they could also wind up at 10-2 and somehow not in the college football playoff. I'm very interested to see what happens with their ranking going forward. They are off this week before they play Kentucky, and then they play Tennessee. I think that Tennessee game should be playing for a college football playoff spot. Should. Will it? I don't know. Because you have to fight that brand bias. Not being a part of the SEC, Vanderbilt doesn't get that sort of respect. Vanderbilt has to fight the V logo on the side of their helmet because it gets viewed differently. But their losses are to Texas, who the committee has ranked pretty highly, and I have in my top 20 as well. And did they play well in that game? No, they did not. It was not actually a 3-point game. Texas was far superior. That was kind of a Steve Sarkisian special, though, to get up big, let him come back. Like, that has played out a lot for the Longhorns over the last couple of years. But Vanderbilt, I think, controls its own fate to make the college football playoff. I think. So that's where the SEC is at right now. You have got 3 teams in Tier 1, Ole Miss in a tier of its own, and then everybody else is in Tier 2. And I don't think anybody in Tier 2 right now feels like a lock to go to the playoff. I think Oklahoma's going to lose to Bama this weekend, and they'll be all but done for the playoff. I think Texas will lose this weekend as well to Georgia. They'll be out of the playoff, and Vanderbilt will have a chance. They will have a chance. It's a crazy thing to say, but that's the world we live in.